is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop about research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared from our students, faculty, and other members of our USC community. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Viterbi Voices. This is Emily Powis, one of your co-hosts, and I am a senior studying biomedical engineering. Unfortunately, we didn't get to get Paul in today on this episode, but I do have one of our lovely podcasters, Olivia. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Olivia, and I'm also a senior, and I'm studying environmental engineering, and I'm also doing a progressive degree in green technologies.
Okay, awesome. And do you want to tell us about what your episode is about today?
Yeah, so my episode is actually about environmental engineering. I have 4 other environmental engineers on the podcast. We just talked about our experience in the major and outside the major and our life at USC and just kind of environmental engineering stuff as well as everything else at USC. And it was super fun because I did it with all seniors. So we kind of had that last semester of college perspective and had a lot to say about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to listen to it. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia. I am a senior studying environmental engineering from the Bay Area, and I'm going to be interviewing some other people also studying environmental engineering. So if everyone wants to go around and introduce yourselves, you can say your name, where you're from, and what year you are.
Hello, my name is Noor. I'm from Muscat, Oman, which is a place in the Middle East. Very fun. My major is in environmental engineering, and I'm currently a senior about to graduate, which is exciting.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm also a senior environmental engineer and about to graduate.
Hi, my name is Annie Chen. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I'm also a senior about to graduate and majoring in environmental engineering.
Hi, my name is Alana McMahon. I'm also a senior in environmental engineering, and I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Thank you, everyone. So we got all the seniors here today. So we got that last semester of college perspective. So just kind of to start it off, just kind of to tell everyone what exactly environmental engineering is. How would you all describe environmental engineering? Like when someone asks you like, oh, what is that? Because I feel like I get that question a lot. What do you guys say? And how would you describe it?
Ooh, I always start with it's an accumulation of many, many things. But then I preface by saying, because we're in California, all we talk about is water. And I think that's like the main thing that we discuss in terms of what the environmental issue in our region is. Water is scarce, and we learn all about it, all of the processes involved in it, and how we can make sure that we maintain our water resources sustainably. But we do learn about energy, we do learn about air and all about like all of these different topics, but we don't delve into them as much as we do when it comes to water. I don't know if that was like had I known that before going into environmental engineering, that's what it's all about here. I might have had or chosen a different path, but in the end, I kind of appreciated, the accumulation of knowledge that we've gained in terms of that in that field as well. I don't know. Isabel, do you have any points?
Yeah, I think environmental engineering, people often think it's kind of niche because they're like, oh, just environmental things. But I think environmental is basically everything. Like energy, water, air, like those are all extremely important topics, not just for, environmentalists and environmentally conscious people, but like to businesses and politics, and I think everything relates to the environment. So I'd like to say that it's like the study of, I don't know, like natural systems that affect all of us, how we live, breathe, drink, water, survive. So yeah, I guess that's how I would describe it. Annie?
I would agree with Isabel, but I also want to add on that I feel like at least our major is pretty collaborative as it is pretty small at USC. But I think that's a good thing as we all get to know each other well and share classes together. So I feel like because it's so collaborative, we all get to learn from each other and also about the world around us and solve or help try to alleviate the environmental problems we're facing today.
Yeah, I think kind of like Isabel was saying about applying to many disciplines from business to politics. Many industries need environmental advisors, but I think what separates environmental engineering from environmental studies would just be the amount of math you take and the focus on water being a major that is related to the civil engineering department. We do have those criteria of courses that make us qualified to be engineers if that is the path we choose to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. And I know kind of what Noor was saying. I was a little bit surprised how many water classes I've taken. And I kind of expected a bit more of other stuff, but I also have really enjoyed the water classes. And I feel like we've still gotten a good mix of things. I think Alana started to touch on this with like our course load, but what kind of are the classes like? Like how many, like do you get to take electives? What are the GEs like? Kind of how is the course load? And do you guys find it difficult or is it doable?
Like you were saying with the water courses, I do think those are the courses that were in the curriculum first, but since we've been here, they've added new courses to the curriculum that focus on energy, for example. So as far as major specific courses, I think there has been increased diversity in the curriculum versus just focusing on water. And I think that is a trend that will continue as the major progresses over the next few years. As far as general classes, I have a minor in entrepreneurship as well. So I had made the room to fit that in by taking some chemistry courses at local community college, which also did help manage the course load during freshman and sophomore year when you're taking all your prerequisites.
Yeah, kind of adding on to what Alana is saying, in all honesty, I think our sophomore years were all the hardest, mainly because of the general engineering classes. A lot of us took organic chemistry together and physics 152, which is electricity and magnetism. So I definitely think the toughest part is the beginning when you have to just learn like the prerequisite skills and knowledge. But then I think as you get older and the classes get smaller and you just know more, it gets like not necessarily easier, but you feel like you're learning more without suffering as much as you really need to.
Yeah. And it does really get a lot more manageable, especially once we know each other. It's, again, like Annie said, it's very collaborative. So it feels like, yes, there's too much work, but we're also working in group projects together. And so like that workload gets, dispersed amongst each other. And I feel like we carry each other really well. So it does get a lot easier towards the end. And the beginning is really the most like hectic part. But I think that that's true for at least most STEM majors, right? It's like something that you have to get through to, get into the more niche topics. So yeah, sophomore year was hell, not gonna lie, but it got more fun towards the end.
It also didn't help that COVID happened last semester. So that was also a big factor. But I think for general classes, like we've all taken like the required chem classes, bio classes, physics classes, but those also kind of double as general education credits. But then I've gotten a chance to take like other fun GEs in different categories. And I feel like usually per semester I have one class that's not a major class, so that kind of offsets the work in my major classes.
I took a comedy class once, which was really fun. It was one of my GEs too, so that was really helpful. And it was during COVID, so that like entertained me a lot, I think. And I took a philosophy class. And so it's just based on like how you fit in your schedule. Your options are always unlimited, right?
Yeah, I'm in improv comedy right now, kind of relating to Noor's comment. And you can take so many like physical education classes. Alana and I did soccer together. I did ballroom dancing. Like you can really do almost anything you could possibly want. Just have to make sure to prioritize that, or else engineering can slightly kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's all time management. And like they were saying, like your freshman and sophomore year, it's not that you do more work than you do once you're a senior. It's just doing OChem isn't as fun as taking like an energy class or a water class, which is something you're a little more interested in. Kind of back to classes. Do you guys have a favorite class that you've taken, whether it's an engineering class or a non-engineering class?
Ooh. Okay, I can start with, can we do both actually, just to make it a little bit more entertaining?
We can do both. We can do two.
My most fun class that was not engineering related, this is going to sound very nerdy, but I really liked our philosophy class that I had. It was existentialism and philosophy, literature and film, and it was really fun. It was taught by this like old 90-year-old professor of Harvard, tenured professor. And we literally watched movies at the end of the class and analyzed them philosophically, which was really fun. What is my favorite major class? Ooh, I don't know. I want to say Kelly Sanders' class, always, right? We took energy and the environment class, I think. Was that what it was called?
Something like that. Yeah. I know that was the grad level class. And then there was like a one we took sophomore year. Oh wait, maybe that was the sophomore year one.
Environmental trade-offs or something.
Yeah.
That was a really, really fun class. I also really enjoyed George Van Weiss's class, the air pollution class. I felt like I've learned so much. And he really did make it seem that even though that we were learning really advanced topics, his kind of demeanor and how he taught the class made it much more understandable and easier to comprehend and to like, break down and all that. And so I really loved and appreciated his class.
I agree with Noor's choice of Kelly Sanders' energy and energy systems environmental trade-offs class as a favorite in my major classes, but I also enjoyed physics 151 just because Professor Sutherland was my teacher.
Yes.
Pre-TikTok fame. But he was a really nice teacher. And then outside of Viterbi, I took an introduction to Photoshop class last semester, and that was pretty fun to learn how to use that because we had a lot of projects, like making a t-shirt design. That was pretty cool. And then there was like a class in Ivan Young, but it was a class on Japanese animation, so you could just go and watch like Studio Ghibli movies every week. So I kind of audited that with my friend.
That's cool. This is super random, but I decided to take German 1 last semester because I've just been wanting to learn for a long time, and I figured why not? And it ended up being so fun. Like I laughed every class, even though it was a lot of work. It was really cool being able to experience like a whole different, like it's people I would never have class with because they were younger than me and none of them were engineering majors, but it kind of gave me like more of a perspective on the school, and it was pretty small, so I got to know everyone in my class. So that was really fun. If you ask anyone, I talked about the class way too much.
Yeah. But I appreciated it. No hate.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with the Kelly Sanders class, just because that was the most unique class, I would say, because it was the only energy class you take as an undergrad that covers the breadth of all energy sources, fossil fuel and renewable, then kind of like besides the introductory class freshman year, which I guess she also taught during our year, but now they rotate professors. And for non-engineering classes, I would say contemporary drama. I think she's also a former Harvard professor and might have gone back to New York too after I took this class. But I just like read and watched a lot of plays, and we got to see a play live and at the whatever the Los Angeles Playhouse is called.
That's super cool. I think I would have to agree with the Kelly Sanders classes. Those are always super, it's very interesting, especially because that's kind of why I went into environmental engineering, where the energy route. And for non-engineering, I took intro to cinema my first semester. So I was like, oh, I have to take class in the film school because we go to USC, that's such a good film school. And it was super cool and super interesting because after I was like, oh, I can watch films in a whole new way that I never would have before. But I also was like, I'm very out of my element here. Like, I've got a little better at writing about film critically, but I'm like, wow, it's a good thing I'm in engineering. And I just took this just to take it for fun. But it's still definitely a fun class. Bit of a change of gears, but what kind of stuff are you all involved on campus, whether it's related to E&E or not related to E&E? I know we have the president of the American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists here, Alana. If you want to talk about that a bit and anything else you're involved.
Yeah, we have our vice president. Everyone on this podcast is also on e-board, but so yeah, I am the president of the American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists, and we are open to all majors, but the majority of our cohort is in environmental engineering. So we do focus on traditional environmental engineering class with events, for example, by touring Hyperion or having career panels, but we also talk to startups and try to show alternative career paths for people who want to do something else with their degree, or for people who are more in the environmental science side of American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists. I know it's a long name, but we just call it AAES for short. And besides that, I'm also in an orchestra on campus that's open to all students, not just music majors, called the Student Symphony Orchestra. And yeah, I play the flute there. I've done that for 4 years. And it's back to AAES. We're also a member org of the Environmental Student Assembly, which is the overarching USG programming branch for environmental students. So they have like 20 or so member orgs with niche interests, and then we all combine with ESA. And any student can be a person in ESA as well. It's not it's open to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess adding on to what Alana was saying, actually, I think everyone on this call is on the e-board for AAEES. It's super fun because we have a lot of cool social and career events. So you feel like you're getting a well-rounded experience. Like you're making friends, but also doing something somewhat productive in your life. I guess I am also involved in Engineers Without Borders since my freshman year. And I also do research on campus, which is cool. Annie and I are both in lab right now, so it really takes over your life, but it's fun. Yeah, you wanna add on?
Sure. So I'm also on AAES as a social chair, and I've been trying to plan a retreat and then a social event in the semester for all our members. I'm also the co-captain of the environmental design team for ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers, where every year we're basically given a prompt to come up with a water treatment system that we compete with against, I believe, 13 other schools at a conference in April. So that's been challenging but fun as we work with underclassmen and upperclassmen as well. I'm also doing research with Alana, actually, under the same professor. We're trying to model vegetation that is near the LA River in a project to restore the river to its natural habitat. And in previous years, I used to be on the USC Concerts Committee, which was really fun, as well as science outreach, where you could go to local elementaries around USC and teach second or third graders science experiments.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm also at AAEES, newsletter chair. If you see music recommendations at the end of a newsletter, that's all me. I'm just kidding. I sometimes think that nobody actually listens, but maybe after this podcast, people start doing so. What else? I'm actually, there's an organization that I'm a part of that is not USC based. It's more of a community organization based here in California, in Los Angeles, and called Vigilant Love. And I was part of their Solidarity Arts Fellowship cohort last year. And so we just do a lot of community-based organizing for, local Muslim communities and Japanese American communities in this neighborhood, which was really nice and enlightening to be a part of. I'm also doing a lot of research at USC. I work for the Adam Smith Lab, where we do wastewater-based, epidemiology to track the spread of COVID at USC's campus. So we take wastewater samples across campus and we analyze them for COVID so that we can notify student health if there's an outbreak of sorts. And that has also been very, educational, because now I know how to analyze DNA, RNA samples and do all that stuff, but also very challenging in terms of meeting the end of the day deadline, because we have to notify student health at the end of the day, which gets really, hectic. But other than that, I think that's the extent of it.
Yeah, that's all super cool. I know I did a little bit of research for a semester, a semester or two with Kelly Sanders. It was all online, but it was about some COVID stuff relating to the environment. But how were you guys able to get into research? Did you find it difficult, or what kind of jumped you into that?
In terms of how we got our positions, it was really straightforward and easy, right? You just go up to your professor that you're are thinking of working with, and you just straight up tell them that this is something that I'm interested in, and they're always will find a space for you as an undergrad, especially to work for them / collaborate with them. So in terms of getting a research position at USC, that was one of the easiest things to get, really.
In my case, it was also pretty easy. I sometimes our department or Viterbi will email you with professors who are looking for researchers that are students, and I just answered back to one of those emails, and that's how I joined. So it was pretty simple.
Yeah, I think with environmental engineering too, all of these professors we have classes with, so these opportunities usually come up during classes or after the class. I get, Annie said, emails to former students of that class.
Yeah, exactly. And all the faculty are always super eager to work with you. They're very excited, and they all since what we've been saying, all the classes are pretty small. It's not it's lectures of hundreds of students. That's more the general chem classes, and calc classes get a little bigger. But that's what's nice about this, is that we all know each other and we all know the professors. Even over Zoom, the classes were still small and we all kind of still got to know each other. And over Zoom was always a little tough. So it's always nice to just be able to chat over a Zoom call in class and get to know each other. Yeah. Have any of you guys had any internship experience, and have your classes at environmental engineering classes prepared for you for that, or kind of just any experience outside of campus, whether it's an internship relating to environmental engineering or not related to environmental engineering?
I can answer this question. The summer after my sophomore year, I got an internship, but it was unpaid. But since COVID was happening anyway, it was like also for a startup. So what I did for the company was I was like a sustainability analyst intern. I kind of learned how to analyze products for their sustainability. So I would write reviews on different products or services, and they wanted to become like, you know, how Amazon has like a 5-star rating system, but they wanted to do that for sustainability. That was pretty cool to get to know that side of things because it's not as engineering as like a traditional environmental engineer job. And then last summer, after my junior year, I was able to get an internship at World Energy, which was a renewable fuels company that is making renewable fuels from beef fat and vegetable oil. I was a environmental engineer intern, but I mainly worked with wastewater that was produced from the plant. I think my classes helped me a lot because in my classes I've used Excel, and at my job I also had to use a lot of Excel, so it was nice to be familiar with that already. And I also had to like read over a lot of reports and know the basics of wastewater treatment. So knowing that from my classes was pretty helpful.
Yeah, I worked at LA County Sanitation Districts. I started like last winter break or something, and then I continued through the school year and in the summer. I worked in the air quality section, so I also used a lot of Excel, like what Annie was saying. Excel follows you everywhere, honestly. So it was a lot of looking at engines at different treatment plants and making sure they followed the permits that were issued to the water treatment operators. So it's kind of cool. You're calculating like, oh, how much methane, how much CO2 is coming out of these engines, and then figuring out ways to reduce emissions. So it's pretty cool. And I took it in conjunction with the air quality class that Noor was talking about earlier with George Van Weiss. So I really felt like I was learning things that I could sort of apply, which was cool.
In real time, that sounds dope, actually.
Yeah, in real time.
It's very convenient to be taking that class while you're doing an internship in the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And just kind of thinking post-grad a bit after we all finish this semester. Are you guys looking into doing grad school or starting to work right away? Sorry, Noor, or not know what you're doing yet. That's totally fine too. Isabel, I know you're telling me about grad school the other day.
Yeah, so one program I applied to is actually more energy based. It's like energy, civil infrastructure, and climate change. So it's kind of more similar to what we were talking about with Kelly Sanders' class. And then another program that I'm thinking about is more traditional environmental engineering, like what you would find at USC, where you take fluid mechanics, water chemistry, air quality. So it's a little bit more straightforward, but try to decide what I want. I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah. Same as Isabel, I'm looking at 2 completely different routes, and I'm at the crossroad. Is that the word for it? Crossroad?
Good word.
Thank you. But I'm at the crossroads of between a PhD program, because I'm also doing my master's at USC simultaneously with my undergrad. So I'm doing a PDP program, which we can discuss after, but I'm thinking about doing a PhD, but I'm also thinking about going into the field and potentially working and then finding a topic that I am passionate enough about to do more research about. So I was thinking either entering into the workforce after this or doing a PhD. I still don't have an answer, and I feel like I'm taking my sweet time until I have to make that decision, which I believe is in a couple of weeks. So I need to.
No, you have time because you're doing a PDP, so you're still finishing. Like you're going to be in classes in the fall, right?
No, I'm finishing this semester.
Oh, you're very early. Well, good for you for getting both all at the same time. But I think that's what's nice with an engineering degree, I think, is that there's flexibility. Like you can go to grad school, or if you want to, like you can get a job right away. Like even if, and it's still, we also all still have time to get jobs. It's not that early yet, or not that late yet. Sorry. But yeah, and I think that's what's nice is the flexibility. Like it's either or. It's not you have to go to grad school right away. Because I know that's something I was a little worried about. Because I'm also doing a progressive degree like Noor is doing. Because I still have one more class in the fall, so I still have a little bit to go. But it's nice because I didn't know if I wanted to go to school right away, if I just wanted to go into the workforce. So it gives me a little bit of a buffer there.
I think honestly, I wish I had that time. I think because it really does get stressful to make that big, long-term decision in such a short period of time. So honestly, breathe, take some time, reflect. Time is, with you, not against you. So yeah, that's really important. And
Completely agree. Yeah, Annie and Alana, are you looking for jobs, or are you looking more into grad school?
I am definitely looking for jobs right now for full time. So hopefully that works out for me. I've been looking into traditional environmental engineering jobs, such as like working for the city or the government, or at engineering firms, but I'm also looking more into like sustainability jobs in companies that aren't really like engineering companies. So yeah.
Yeah, kind of same thing. I've been applying to traditional jobs, but also more, I'd say, programs that aren't official grad programs. There are still jobs, but they're more 1 to 2 recent year commitment from like a recent graduate rather than like a rest of your life kind of commitment, which I guess either the rest of your life kind of commitment, that's always not the case either. And a lot of people switch from government to consulting or from consulting to government. But those are also not, the only choices in the world to be grad school, consulting, or government. I think definitely during the pandemic, we became more aware of our time and what we want to put our energy into. And I guess not feeling pressure to just accept the first offer or job if it doesn't feel right for you. And I guess there's people not on this call who do have found that sweet spot job already and are, good to go on the marching along the path. But I think there's definitely opportunities, especially as to like innovate in the environmental and sustainability space and like pursue more non-traditional career paths.
I agree. And I can also say that you can really just divert as far away from environmental engineering as you want. Like having our degree is like within itself a very strong base / form of stability. And we could also go into more data analysis kind of jobs or, other sorts of engineering jobs. It's not restricted to environmental engineering as much as I love our major, but the world is your oyster, I think. And you could do with an E&E degree literally anything and everything. And so, well, within reason, right? But you can still do a lot with it. And that's the point.
I agree. Like sometimes I feel like environmental sounds a little niche, but like you're getting that chem background, the calc background, and just like getting an engineering degree means like how to like problem solve, and you just like it trains you to do a lot of different things. So if you really want to apply it elsewhere, you totally can.
I was just gonna say, I feel like environmental engineering, I guess or maybe any engineering degree, it just mainly teaches you critical thinking. And especially in the day and age where technology is just going to continue exponentially increasing, and people may have 2 to 3 different careers in their lifetime moving forward. I definitely know people who are at like age 50 who are planning a second career, and like, you know, a third career even at 65. You know, there's not really a reason to be stagnant. And there's also a lot of overlap between like consulting and government, private public partnerships. There's definitely, and you'll be working with all kinds of engineers and non-engineers. So there's definitely, you know, it is a bubble, but there's a bigger world out there too, which you will become a part of.
Yeah, totally. Just kind of wrap this all up. What made you guys kind of decide to come to USC and decide to ultimately do environmental engineering? Because we're all in our last semester, so there's no changing now. So
No, there's time.
there's always time.
I feel like for me personally, USC was actually the only school I applied to engineering, because I figured it being a private school and a little smaller, I would get more support versus like a big UC or public school. And then when I was deciding between the different engineerings, environmental seemed the least boring or torturous. So I just kind of YOLO decided to do it. And then it kept being too late for me to change. And then I was like, I don't know, I guess I don't want to change. And
I think it's because you loved us so much. I think that's
sure. Yeah, but yeah, no, honestly, true. We all got so close. I would still consider us close. So I feel like you were also attached to the community. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
So I knew that I wanted to go out of state for college, although I did apply and stay in Colorado, but I did apply to several schools in California. USC was the only one that I got into in California, and I really, for some reason, at the start of my application process, it wasn't at the top of my list until I really looked at it more. Like, I don't even remember the reason why I applied. I just did. But when I looked into it more, and that it was also in LA, I knew I wanted to also be in a city environment, but we also have like our little campus here that's not downtown. And then I originally applied to USC for chemical engineering. So I took my intro to chemical engineering class spring of my freshman year. For some reason, it was later than some of the other people who had that major. During that class is when I realized I didn't want to major that anymore, as I don't think it really fit me. And it was also pretty hard to understand. Like in high school, I thought I was good at chemistry, which is why I chose that major. And then I took that class and I realized I really didn't know what was going on. So I decided to switch to environmental engineering. As I had also thought of that in high school, but I just didn't think of that as a choice when I was applying to college. I also considered switching out of Viterbi into Dornsife for environmental science or studies, but I decided that having an engineering degree would still benefit me, so I stayed. But I think like I really liked my choice, and I don't regret it.
Yay.
Yeah. My story is a little bit more complicated than that, being an international student. I had no like conception of what the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, whatever parts of the US were. I really didn't really look at location in that sense. So what I did was I just applied really to multiple schools in each of the regions, and USC was one of the East Coast schools. Oh no, wait, never mind. West Coast. Yes. still don't have a conception.
It's okay. You knew it was a coast. That's good enough.
It's one of the coasts, right? And it was the first one to respond, and well, one of the very few ones that I got into, and I was like, if I was ever going to the state, it might as well be in Los Angeles, and here we are. As to why I chose environmental engineering, well, because it's the only engineering field that sounded a little bit tolerable. But I also really was into geology as a kid. Like I loved archaeology and biology and looking at rocks and stuff. And I thought that the inner scientist in me really just wanted to do something involving the environment. And so that's why I chose environmental engineering. I really, in freshman year, was like, and people knew me as the person that always would come up with a new major to switch to. There was a week where I wanted to be a neuroscientist, so I really wanted to get into neuroscience. There's the next week where I wanted to do cognitive science. I really considered to switching to the humanities, but something about environmental engineering, kept me tied in and tethered to it still. To this day, I think about switching out of environment. I'm kidding. I don't. No, it's a joke. That's a joke. But yeah, I love E&E. I love my E&E people, faculty, and all of that. And I think it was, one of the only right decision I think I made so far.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Sad, but sweet.
Yeah, I guess for me, I guess it was like two parts, thinking with your head and kind of feeling with your heart. And I'll start with the more practical considerations, which really came down to the bottom line, the dollars and cents. Not to sound too much like my Marshall Snake minor, and environmental people are in it for the money. We're never going to make as much as app developers, but compared to, I figured the engineering degree would give me a competitive advantage upon graduation, just having a more STEM background compared to environmental studies or something like that that's more focused on politics, which I wasn't really sure I wanted to get into the whole politics sphere. And since I could, based on how my high school performance, handle the math and handle the engineering, I decided there needs to be people in all fields who care about the environment, not just environmental studies. And USC gave the best financial aid package out of the colleges I was accepted to. So here I am. And but yeah, it still is college is an investment. And you just have to consider, if you're taking out X amount of loans, how much are you going to be making and how quickly will you pay it off? And I think from an engineering degree from Viterbi, it's a pretty safe investment. But back to like the hard part, the fun part. I always wanted to do something environmental related and figured my skill set was best aligned with engineering. And then when I got to USC, I definitely think I picked the right engineering major because of the friend group and the cohort, and professors too. You get to really know everybody because it is such a small major. And I think having a solid group does really help you get through the challenging moments. Compared to other majors, you might not feel that connection that really does help you like persevere through late night homework and other situations that do arise as an engineering student.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's like one of the main reasons I stuck in engineering, because I feel like we all probably have these moments where it's like, I need to be out of here. I can't do this. But was because it's such like a small, tight-knit group of people, and it's very, very collaborative. And that's another reason that I chose USC, was because I didn't want to be like in a competitive atmosphere. I didn't want to feel like I had to like compete with my classmates to like do better than each other. Like we all help each other with homework, and we like all work together. No one will like share their like figured out a homework question that no one can. No one's gonna like hide it from people just to like get full credit. Like we all help each other when we can. Very, very collaborative. And just I was always really interested in the environment. That's kind of how I got here, but the people and the professors made me stay. So thank you everyone here for that.
No, thank you. Isabel taking the credit.
All Isabel.
It's all me.
Yeah, definitely ending on a bit of a nostalgic note, but thank you all for taking the time to talk to me. And I hope everyone listening got a good feel for environmental engineering. Hopefully now everyone wants to be an environmental engineer.
And they should be.
They should, but hope it was informative. And thank you, everyone.
All right, everyone, and we're back. Thank you so much, Olivia. I was wondering, so I think you did a really good job of highlighting like what it is like to be an environmental engineer at USC. But do you have any advice for someone who might be considering environmental engineering? Like, how would they know if it's a good fit?
Yeah, I would definitely say, I think if you have any interest in the environment, like whether it be climate change, water resources, sustainability, I think it's definitely a great place to start, especially if you're interested in environmental studies, but are also really into math and science, because that's exactly how I chose it. Because I took AP Environmental Science in high school. And if you took that class in high school and also enjoyed it, I think environmental engineering is a great major because it kind of encapsulates a lot of that stuff, but also goes into greater detail in the physics aspect and the math aspect. So it's a great combination of kind of environmental studies topics while taking it a bit farther. And just kind of if you have an interest in engineering and you don't know where to start and you're a little like worried about the course load and how technical it is, I do think it is like a little less heavy than other majors and it's very collaborative. So if you like that more collaborative environment and being able to work with your peers and be in a small major, I think it's a great place to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know with biomedical engineering, I'm not sure if I'm curious what you think about this, but people describe biomedical engineering as like all of the engineering disciplines combined. So like mechanical, chemical, electrical, all combined for like a medical focus. Would you say the same thing about environmental?
Yeah, I think not necessarily entirely because I haven't taken like really any mechanical classes. I did take a chemical class, but more so it was a thermodynamics class and they like don't offer it with environmental engineering. So I do think it's a little more niche than that, but it's still definitely very broad. And all the engineering class, like all the engineering majors still have to take math and chem and or most have to take chem and then physics and then biology and stuff. So you do kind of have that general background, then it does get a little more niche. So I wouldn't necessarily describe it as like a melting pot of all of them. It is a little more niche, but you do still get to take classes in other engineering within other engineering departments.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was a really great episode. So thanks for bringing it to us.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll sign off here. Bye, everyone.